Hello everyone, it's Ange de Lumière here for another episode of the podcast High Vibe Monday and also on YouTube. And I want to wish you a wonderful new year. I already have had such a fantastic time since the 1st of January, and actually this episode is a little bit about sharing what I've been up to. Because over the Christmas period, I was inspired to create an event that I called 30 Days in the Vortex, which is the title of this podcast. I post on my Facebook page every day about it until the 30th of January, and I use the hashtag. And for those of you who don't know what a hashtag is, it's a word or sentence or something with the pound symbol in front of it, which is two little strokes and an equal sign. For those of you who are not American or English and might not understand, because this really confused me when I started hearing first about the pound sign that doesn't look like a pound at all, and the second hashtag. I was like, what is a hashtag? So very often on social media people use hashtags so that they can organize a group of posts that are linked with the same the same theme. And so this is why I wanted to create the hashtag 30 Days in the Vortex, so that people could also share on their own page or on their own profile. And if you don't know the difference between a profile and a page on Facebook, profile is the account that you created to be able to join Facebook, whereas a page is what you've created usually for your business. But there's pages that are for just interest or things or community or things like that. So my profile is called Ange de Lumière and my page is called I Can Help You Thrive. So I was inspired, and this is what I'm all about in business, okay? I've been talking about planning with Heather last week and how important it is to plan, but at the same time, for me, it's been enabled me to create more space in my day and my weeks and my life so that I have room for these inspired actions to fit in, because we tend to want to do too much in the short term and we neglect long term. Planning enables you to have more balance between, to plan more long-term things and then bring them back into the now and see how you can get to this long term. But it also helps you to declutter your short term so that you don't feel overwhelmed, which is something I feel quite easily, mostly because I do so much. And I think so much and I'm so creative. I have ideas all the time. But anyway, I knew that this 30 days in the Vortex, I had to do it. It didn't make sense at the time, and it still doesn't completely make sense. But you know, if you followed me for a while, or if you've listened to this podcast for a while, that I actually bring the teachings of the law of attraction into business. This is one of my big missions in business, is to help people use the law of attraction, which is like the law of gravity. It happens whether you are aware of it or not, and to make conscious steps to use it to your advantage, so you manifest what you want rather than manifesting what you don't want. And I've done both of them with great success, and I'm happy to say that creating what you want instead of what you don't want is much better and it's much more fun. So we're on day 13 of this 30 days in the Vortex, and it's not too late to join us. So if you want to join us, I encourage you to go on my page. I've created an event on the 1st of January. So if you go to the tab event, you will see this is, I think it's the last event I've created. And underneath I've added all the posts, so you can literally, without having to scroll through my whole page feed, which can be really tedious, or even the posts, you can just go to the event and go at your own pace. I've decided I'm going to choose someone who, from all the people who will comment and take part in this 30 days in the Vortex event, I will choose someone and I will give them a session. I don't know if it's going to be like in a competition, or if I'm just going to ask my or use my intuition to pick that person. But in a way, isn't that the best way to prove that the proof is in the pudding? Because if you work on your manifesting skills, then you will win a session with me. So I just like the idea. So first, before we start on this 30 Days in the Vortex episode, I want to talk about a couple of words that I will be using that are used by Abraham Hicks, which has inspired me tremendously. So a quick word about them. Esther Hicks is an American lady. I think she lives in San Antonio, not that it matters that much. And her and her husband, who's now in the spirit world, started channeling information. I don't know how long ago it was. I think it was in the 80s, and she was kind of really freaked out by the whole channeling thing, but yet she was the one who was chosen by a group of spirit people, let's call them that way, or a collective that's called Abrahams. Now the difference between a guide and a collective is that a guide is one energy entity, I suppose, whereas a collective is they have a collective name, but then any spirit person that wants to be part of that collective at any point in time will join in to add their energy to whatever that collective is dedicated to. And Abraham is dedicated to teach about the law of attraction, to show people that actually they are meant to walk this planet for pleasure, for co-creation, and that they are incredible manifestors, and to learn how to manifest what they want. They have beautiful teachings, and they use certain words that I want to explain a little bit, including the word vortex, because you might not have never heard of it, so that when I start rolling out this episode, you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm not necessarily going to use always the same words as Abraham's, because I'm my own person. I have my own guides, including manifesting guides. I have a beautiful guide called Gold Star that appears as an orb sprinkled with gold dust, so absolutely gorgeous. And I step into it when I want to manifest. So this is my take. We all have something to bring to the table in terms of manifestation. So there's three words I wanted to explain to you. One of them is not actually used by Abraham's, which is why I explained, I'll have my own vocabulary as well. First, the vortex. What is the vortex? So my definition of the vortex, it's an energetic holding place for all of your desires. So this means whenever you wish for something, whether you do it consciously or not, it goes into your vortex, and we each have an individual vortex. Now, I'm going to add my bit to this. For me, the vortex is the Akashic Records. And in particular, if you've been following me, I talk about Business Akashic Records. This is where I work all day, every day. This is where I take my clients to do sessions. And this is also what I teach my clients. So in a way, I teach how to be in the vortex in business, to do business in the vortex. So this whole event of the 30 Days in the Vortex makes sense. So that they can create a journey to success that is stress-free and fulfilling. That where they leverage the power of the universe, where they create synchronicities, when they have an idea, and when this idea is mature and ready to go out into the world, the universe will conspire to make that idea, that project, successful. But not just successful, because you can be successful by working yourself to the ground and being burnt out. No, it's successful with ease and grace. And this is what I stand for. I just absolutely love the idea, and still working to peel off the layers of beliefs that I need to work hard to be successful. And I actually peeled one this morning, even before I got out of bed. I nailed something, and I'm going to share it here with you because it was just so phenomenal. Even though I'd had intellectually heard it several times, it didn't come from my energy as something that popped up. Like an awareness that pops up, like a bubble at the surface of the water. And that it was a thought that I had, and I said, I cannot possibly be paid well for having so much fun. And oh my God, this is the kind of beliefs you want to let go, that come from our conditioning, from our parents, our culture, our ancestors, maybe even our life experience. For example, for me, I've worked for 15 years as a business lawyer. The first 2 years were in a law firm where I worked on average 12 to 14 hours a day. It was just completely mad. And then I had an international business career, which meant that I hopped on planes, sometimes for weeks on end, to the other side of the world, and we were doing due diligences. So we would work from 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight, sometimes even 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I was in my 20s, so I had some kind of reserve of energy to do that. Not to say that I don't have them today, but I didn't know how to use my energy that well. And it's a sure recipe for burnout. So this is what I want to avoid for you, because very often when we create a business for ourselves, we work harder than we worked in our old jobs that we left to have the freedom. So it's actually not an improvement on our former lives. So that's the Vortex, okay? And at the end of this event of 30 days in the Vortex, I will also probably chat a little bit about what the Akashic Records are. If you want to learn about them right now, I do have a video on my YouTube channel and also on my Facebook page where I explain the difference between an Akashic Business Records reading and a psychic reading, because they are very, very different. And I don't do psychic readings. I read the Business Akashic Records, and I focus on business exclusively. I no longer do, a relationship or all that sort of thing. This is not something I focus on. The second word I wanted to define for this podcast is the word contrast, which is used quite a lot by Esther. I think I've finished my introduction on Esther. She had her husband and her were like a pair, and she started channeling more, and this collective called Abraham's is what she channels. And I find her incredibly inspiring, but she doesn't talk specifically about business. So I feel I have my niche here to help business entrepreneurs, business owners and entrepreneurs to use this law of attraction in their business. So contrast is what the situation that brings you to witness something that you do not want. And instead of getting frustrated, this is how you use the law of attraction in a conscious way. Instead of getting frustrated at the fact that something's happening in your life that you don't want, or that's annoying you or irritating you or whatever it is, you acknowledge that it's actually an incredible opportunity for you to clarify what you want. Now, I want to give an example of one of the clients I used to work with before I specialized in business. So for 10 years, I did tarot readings. I'm also a healer, a Reiki master, and I helped women with any areas of their lives. I even took part in one of the most popular Mind, Body, Spirit fair next to where I live, which was incredibly hard to get into. And one of these ladies wanted a relationship, and she was with a boyfriend that was pretty violent at the time. So I helped her to get out of that relationship and manifest a second relationship. But what happened is actually the second one still had aspects that she didn't like. And then moving on to the third one, again, it had improved all along, but it still had bits that she wasn't happy with. And as we all do, because this is how we've been educated, she beat herself up about the fact she didn't get it right the first time. And that was silly, because in the first relationship, she was only aware of one aspect that she wanted. And I can't remember what it was. I don't think she even shared it with me. And then she realized, no, actually, that's not exactly what I want. I'd like to have this. And then when she had the second, which matched her second desire, she realized, no, actually, there's also this that I'd like. So every relationship helped her be more clear on what she really wanted. And if I'm always honest. I don't like this expression. I nearly said if I'm honest. No, I want to be very clear that actually most of us are not clear on what we want. We're very vague. I'm going to give you an example that I'm going to elaborate on in the 30 days in the Vortex, because this is going to be the theme for the next week, I think, or so. When we say, I want money, if I say I want more money, I could find a penny on the ground and my wish would have been fulfilled. But I'm probably not going to acknowledge the penny on the ground, because for me, it's not the money that I want. But I just said I want more money, and I was given more money. So the universe is inviting me first to notice the penny and notice what the penny means. It doesn't always mean that when you find a penny, let's be clear. But if you have just said I want more money, then you will get a penny. You won't necessarily get the £7,000 that you want. Right. So people also hesitate to state an amount of money that they want. We have so many hang-ups around money, around wanting a lot of money. We've probably been told that we were too greedy. Why can't you be happy with what you have? A lot of people don't have what you have, blah, 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 blah. So, but it's important to actually be really precise. Let's go back to this example of I want more money. So you would say, okay, let's suppose I said I want £100,000. And the next week, a relative of mine dies and I inherit that money. I will probably say to myself, actually, I didn't want anyone to die for that. How can I take it back? Of course you can't take it back. And you shouldn't feel guilty because actually they didn't die because of your wish. It's probably the universe just matching your wish with the fact that your relatives was ready to go. So just to take the guilt out of it. So now you know that you want more money, you know that you want £100,000, but you have the £100,000, but maybe you want more money. Maybe you want a regular income because the £100,000 has helped you with your debt, but now you want regular money coming into your account so that you can look after your daily needs. But you don't want to, so you still say, okay, I want a regular income of £7,000 a month. This is just an example. And you offered a job that you hate in something that you used to do that will pay you £7,000, but you just don't want it. So you say, okay, I said I want £7,000 and I was offered that opportunity. How do I want these £7,000 to come in? And then you'll be able to refine. So this is contrast, okay? I know I've spent quite a long time just explaining a couple of concepts, but they're so important for our journey of manifesting our dreams. The third concept or word I want you to understand is the Ho'oponopono. I don't even know if I say it right. It's a Hawaiian practice that has been widespread because he's not the creator. This is an ancient tradition from Hakunas in Hawaii, but it has been spread into the Western world, just like Mikao Usui through the teachings. I can't remember actually the first women from the West that he trained that took Reiki to the States, but basically that's what she did. And in the same way, Dr. Hulen has made this practice available to the wide world, and I absolutely love it. So what is Ho'oponopono? Ho'oponopono is a mantra that you repeat to clear beliefs, what Dr. Hulen calls data, in yourself. It's always about you. It's never about someone else. So the mantra is 4 sentences or 4 words, depending, and it doesn't matter in what order you say them, but it is, I love you, thank you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. So 4 sentences. If you want to write them down somewhere, they will come handy. And what you do with the Ho'oponopono is that whenever a situation, a contrast comes into your life that you don't like, it's contrast, so you're likely not to like it, you use the Ho'oponopono to acknowledge that there's something in you that has attracted the situation that needs clearing. Now, the beauty of it is that you don't need to analyze it. You don't need to know what it is. You don't need to spend 3 days journaling or EFT or tapping on yourself or doing some special ritual to clear it. All you need to do is acknowledge that there's something in you and clear it. Have the intent to let the divine clear it. It's not you who clears it, it's the universe. And for those of you who are not religious or who have been made really wary of religion, I am a free spirit. I don't belong to any religious organization, and I believe that the Ho'oponopono practice is a spiritual practice that we can all benefit from. So let's get started on this episode. I've just went through a lot of information, but it's important you have the background information because for you these might be all very new practices, and you never know, even if you know about these things, you might learn new ways to look at them. So there's 3 steps to manifest anything. The first one is when you're faced with contrast, you ask for something different, and you don't need to be conscious asking it, as I said earlier. It just could be that you're in a traffic jam getting to work every day or to your office or wherever you work, and you're fed up with it and you think, oh, I wish I didn't have to be in traffic for hours every day just to get to work. and earn money. Right, so that's the asking part, step 1. Step 2, it is given, okay? So the universe has heard you. You don't need to do a special ritual for it. You don't need to light candles. You don't need to have incense. You don't need to have purified yourself for the divine to hear you or the universe to hear you. It is given, the moment. And it's given also by your inner being, the wise person in you that knows better than your personality and your ego. You know, we all have a wiser self in us that we can tap into. So your wiser self has heard that wish, that asking. And the third step, which is the one that depends on you consciously, is to allow it for it to come in. So to go back to this example of you're stuck in traffic and you really don't want to do this again, but you've never had the idea to actually create your own business. It's really not on your radar. It was never on mine until I actually lost my job and had no prospect of finding a new one in this country, because I was qualified as a French lawyer, not an English lawyer, and I lived in the UK. I was pregnant with a child from a British man, and I had no intent of going back to France, and I didn't want to go back to university to study for 3 years to be a qualified solicitor. So I did not have the option of having a job and getting stuck in traffic anymore. I had to create my own business. This is what could happen to you, because I literally lost my job after training in Reiki and starting on my spiritual path, and it wasn't a pleasant thing, but I had asked, it was given, and this is how it manifested. I had to allow for it to come in. So in my case, how did I allow this? I allowed it by, I did resist it, but there was no point me staying in that job. So I allowed it by negotiating a package, a redundancy package, and by training in clinical hypnotherapy, which is the first thing I trained in after I left the corporate world, and then in Reiki, and then I followed the guidance on all the different things that I was called to do, which were radically different from what I used to do. So in a way, if you want to go back to, I don't know if you know about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, I'm adding this in. The hero in step 1 has a wish. The universe answers that wish, probably in a way that the hero doesn't want to hear, but he's called to action. And the third step is to actually embrace the journey, okay? So you're on that journey. Now, let's go back to the event that I created for January, which is free, that you can join whenever you want. I don't know for how long it's going to be available on my page, because I want to create it into an actual email sequence that you can join and receive to build my mailing list. But whilst it's still free, you still want to know, why would you want to spend your time in the vortex, okay? Why? What's the point? Maybe you're happy as you are. Well, sort of happy. We always want something more, and that's okay as well. That's one of the things that Esther says, and I think is wonderful, is that it's okay to want more. It's okay to have new desires, because this is actually part of what humans want. You know, the car, the helicopter, planes would have not been invented if we didn't want more and more and more, and I still think it's a wonderful thing. But what I want you to know is, the more you spend time in the vortex or in your Akashic Records, which is an energy, the more your dreams will come true. And I'm on a mission in the first 100 days of 2020 to help 30 women get on the path of manifesting their big dreams, okay? By teaching them about the law of attraction, by teaching them about intuition, by showing them their big vision, by validating it, by supporting them in knowing the next 3 steps to make it a reality. So point number 1, it helps your dreams come true in an easy, effortless, and graceful way. And the second is, your life becomes so much easier. You know, instead of, there's always 2 paths to manifest something, the hard way and the easy way. And I know a lot of people who take value, glorify themselves, and think that they're more worthy because they've put more effort into something. And I used to be that person, because I came from a family where both my ancestral lines had worked incredibly hard. Interestingly enough, one of the lines worked hard and had a lot of money, and the other one worked hard and had no money. What a great playground for me to learn a lot of lessons. And I have worked hard for more than 15 years of my career. When I was a student, I did 2 degrees at the same time, not 1, 2. Okay, I did a law degree and then I did a translation degree. And you might think translation degree is an easy one. We had no exception from either or the other course. They weren't integrated, so we had to do the 2 and meet the demands at the same time, regardless. So I felt deserving, I felt worthy when I worked hard. I felt like I had to earn my worth by really putting my best and my 200% into it. Now, why should we have to put 200% in order to manifest what we want? What if we could put just 80%? Or what if we could put 50% and the universe put the other 50%? This is my new philosophy. I'm going from 200 to 50%, and that's okay. That doesn't make me any less worth my success. Now, I want you to ponder on that for a little bit before I move on. It's so important. If you still want to be able to wear a badge of honor of how hard you've worked for your life and your success, I suggest you stop watching this YouTube video, you stop the recording on the podcast, and move on. I wish you well. I was one of these people myself. I do not judge. I'm so happy that I'm not that person anymore, but that doesn't mean that I'm not acknowledging what you're doing as your worthy journey to where you want to go. Okay? Really, I don't judge. But there's another way. And if we will go for the easier way, that means that we have more time for our families, we have more time for fun, we have more time for our health, for our well-being, we have more time to cook, we have more time to travel, we have more time for friends. And all these things as important as our business and our work? I think so. I think so. You know, I created this business so that I could home educate my children. And at this point in time, I do not know people who have a solution to do that other than one of the, parent or partner, whatever, or in the unit, in the family unit, works twice as hard and the other one home educates. But that means that there's still a parent that has to sacrifice their relationship to their children for the other one to be able to home educate. And I don't think that's right. I want to show a way that it's possible for every parent never to have to sacrifice their children over their career, because this is something that I had to do and that cost me dearly in terms of guilt, in terms of regret, all that sort of thing. Now I'm clearing all of that with the Ho'oponopono, but I want to be there to create a new path for other people who are in the place I was in my 20s when I had my first child. Actually, I was 30 when I had my first child, but yeah, late 20s. So, how do you get in the vortex? I think that's the next question I want to explore on this podcast episode. And the way to do that is to choose to be happy no matter what. Now, that's not as easy as it sounds. Of course, I still believe happiness is a choice, no matter what the circumstances. We need to be able to access, just like I believe that what we call love as humans has nothing to do with unconditional love. Because unconditional love is your birthright no matter what you do, even if you are a criminal, even if you are the worst possible human on the planet from other people's point of view. Okay? This is actually something that Dr. Hewlin did, and what made him famous is because he worked in a mental hospital in the psychiatric unit for criminals, like dangerous criminals. And instead of seeing them one-to-one in sessions and trying to fix them as a psychiatrist, because he is a trained psychiatrist, he just sat with their files and did the Ho'oponopono. And within months, not only had the whole ward completely changed, every single person changed, including the patients. Well, let's call them the patients. I don't know what they're called in there. But ultimately they had to close the unit because there was no more people to section in there. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that just... And so this illustrates what I was just saying, that unconditional love even loves the most dangerous of criminals that are in a dangerous psychiatric units. They also deserve the love. But let's move back to us, okay? So how do you get in the vortex? So I was explaining about unconditional love. Now you want to aim for unconditional happiness, okay? That doesn't mean that you squash your feelings. It means that you operate from a place where you can find happy moments in no matter what the circumstances, no matter if the universe doesn't yield what you want. Does that make sense? So affirmations don't work. You can't just say, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy when you feel rubbish. Because the universe pays attention to your vibe, not to the words that you say. And this is another thing I wanted to discuss in this podcast episode. We have been trained to say the opposite of what we feel. Now let's take a very, very mundane example. You bump into someone in the street and they say, how are you? Now, you've just going through a divorce. You have just been diagnosed with ME. Your finances are in a pickle and you feel awful. And yet, what do you say to that person? I'm okay. How are you? And of course, we can't always share what we're going through with people that we bump into the street. It will depend how familiar with them, whatever the circumstances. But what I want to say, though, is that from very, very young, you've observed people doing that when you were aware, because all children are aware of the vibe, and that's where they get super confused. You were aware that that person, if it was your parent, didn't say the truth. And that's a given. You knew it. And so over time, you become disconnected from your true feelings. And you start saying what you think you should say or what you think you should feel like instead of what you really feel like. And this is the split that is in all of us adults today, I believe, because of the conditioning, the years of conditioning from, if it wasn't from our parents, it's from our peers. If it wasn't from our peers, it was from teachers in school. If it wasn't from teachers, it was from other kids. They all do it, and so it becomes the norm. And it becomes something that we don't even pay attention to anymore. Now, this is what I want you to stop doing, okay? When you talk to the universe, when you say things, be aware of exactly where you're at. You want to change the vibe, okay? You want to go to the root, not just put a plaster on a wooden leg. Change the way. And so you'd say, okay, maybe you're going to tell me, okay, but that doesn't change my feelings. Now I know I'm negative feelings. How do I get in the vortex? Yeah? So what you do is you become emotionally intelligent and you release those emotions, okay? You clean yourself. And this is where the Ho'oponopono comes into it. So if you feel a certain way, if life is unfolding a certain way, you need to take 100% responsibility about yourself. And that if this happens in your life, it's because you created it, because you're an incredible manifestor. And you might not be aware of what has created it, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you clean. So you say, whenever something crops up, and it's interesting because this morning I had a big aha moment and I decided to clean my credit card because I have credit card debt, and in my family it's something that's considered shameful. Not only that, it's worse than that. My grandfather was put in prison because of his debts, which was the best guarded secret in our family for years. And yet it has been, because it was a guarded secret, and I could talk about how family secrets can impact many, many generations. Because it was a guarded secret, it's been literally handed down to all his children and his grandchildren and so on. And I've set my intent to clean all that rubbish for the sake of my own children, but also possibly for the sake of humanity, because I want everyone to benefit from whatever I do. So I Ho'oponopono'd my credit card today, and I said, thank you. thank you for giving me the breathing space that I needed when money wasn't coming into my account as much as I needed it. I said, sorry for resenting you. I said, please forgive me. And then I said, I love you. This is huge. This is huge. This is the kind of shifts that I'm talking about. So I went from being unhappy about having credit card debt to actually being grateful and happy. And that's how you get in the vortex. Okay? So what else did I want to say? Let me just check my notes. Yeah, I want to give you another example. My dishwasher broke down, and that must be about a month ago. And when I asked, for help in my community shop Facebook group to find someone to repair it, most of the advice I got was just buy a new one. It's not worth repairing it. They didn't even know what the fault was. And my husband and I are very conscious about reusing, repairing things rather than just replacing them, because of the footprint it has on the planet and everything. So we've decided to hire someone to come and repair it. And of course, because it was over Christmas, we couldn't do anything over Christmas. And then when the guy came back, he ordered the part, and the part was supposed to come on Friday, and it didn't, and it's supposed to come today. Now, on one of the days and the mornings over, it must have been on the weekend, I saw the pile of dishes that was left in the kitchen because our dishwasher doesn't work. And I felt absolute despair. I felt really, really depressed. It had been weeks of me, slaving away in the kitchen, trying to keep on top of the piles. And on the Friday, I had gone on a coffee date with my husband. We'd had fun in the evening. We'd watched a film. I had a jacuzzi, and I decided to leave the pile of dishes because I wanted to have a break from it. But then it caught up with me in the morning. And I saw the parallel between the pile of dishes and my debt as well, which has allowed me to come to today's revelation about the fact that I needed to clear my credit card. I needed to love my credit card. Just as I need to love that pile of dishes for the awakening, the aha moment it's given me. On Friday, when the guy texted me to say, we don't have the part, it's going to be on Monday, I knew in my heart that it was for our highest good. Because he texted us on Friday morning to say, I'm not sure if it's going to come today. The DHL has come and gone. The part is not in it, but it could still come with Royal Mail. And when he sent the text, I said, let it be what is for our highest good. And it's only this morning that I realized, oh my God, it was completely for my highest good to have that pile of dish on top of me that Saturday morning that got me so depressed. Because by Saturday night, I had talked myself into a completely different mindset. I had told myself, I said, well, I'm just figuring this out. I can do whatever I want when I can about the dishes. I'm going to do a little bit all the time. I can relax. I love actually doing washing dishes because of the warm water and the soap and the fact that they're squeaky clean when I've done them. And I just relaxed into it, and I relaxed into the fact that everything is always working out for me, that the universe always has my back. So even if I see something unpleasant right in my face that's really annoying me, that's taking over all my Christmas and my Saturday and spoiling then I decide to turn it around and to make it an opportunity instead of a challenge. Does that make sense? So I went from feeling great when I woke up because I had been out on a coffee date with my husband, we watched a film with the kids, I had a jacuzzi, I was relaxed, I slept well. I went from feeling absolutely amazing to feeling crap. But then I realized what the belief underneath was making me feel rubbish about all that pile of dishes. I was able to shift it, to have an awareness, which led then after 3 days to the aha moments about the pile of dishes and my pile of debt and the parallel. And it was just amazing. So, but what's interesting as well, and I want to share, is that when I went to the supermarket after feeling super depressed about my pile of dishes, I bumped into my sister-in-law, who sadly had to go to hospital over Christmas to have a pacemaker fitted. And she never shops where I shop usually. And yet she bumped into me at the supermarket in a place she never goes to. And the words that she said to me, she had a broken wrist. She broke her wrist playing Skittles on the Friday night. And she said something in the vein, I can't remember exactly the expression in English, but like, when it gets bad, it gets worse. And I was like, of course the universe is bringing me this because I'm feeling really, really bad about my pile of dishes. And so I'm a vibrational match for my sister-in-law who feels that life is going downhill. And I was like, oh my God, this is another aha moment. Now, you know how by the end of the day, I managed to feel a lot better, and then I went my own way. And I did send some prayers and some love to my sister-in-law because she's going through a very, very difficult patch. But you can see how you can turn things around. You can always turn things around. My sister-in-law, I'm sure she does it, but she could just forget that thought because it's not helping her. It might be the truth, but the truth, what you see, how can I explain? It's a manifestation of your past. My debt is a manifestation of my poverty consciousness over the years. And I've worked on it, but it's still there because it's the past. Whatever is in your life today is a manifestation of your past, not of who you are now. So you can be thankful for the manifestation of the past because they got you to where you are now, which is a different person. And if you don't focus too much on what is in your life that you do not like, the contrast, then you're able to move on to the next phase, which is what is in your vortex and is ready to come into your life. You're able, the more time you spend being happy and at peace with what is, knowing that it's not your reality, it's a past reality that has manifested. The more you spend time in the vortex, the more your new reality will come true. It will come out of the vortex, which is an energy place, and it will manifest, literally rain down on you in your life all day, every day. So what do you think of that? Now, there's certain things that we can do that help us get in the vortex. I want to share with you a couple of things, but what I want you to really do is to make a list of these things and to practice one at least every day. So here are the things that get me into the vortex: singing, dancing, doing something creative, practicing the piano, cuddling my cats, spending time with my kids, laughing with my husband, having fun, recording podcast episodes. That really brings me into the vortex. That makes me feel so happy. So what are yours? In business, we often do what we believe we have to do, and that means we forget about having fun. So I want to make sure that you bring more fun into your business, because that's the way that your big vision will come true. Okay? And if you want to join my 30 days in the vortex, it's not too late. Head over to my page, and I will also put the link in the show notes and under the YouTube video so that you can join us. I want to thank you for listening to this episode, and I will talk to you again next week. Bye for now.